You're listening to the Go-Getter podcast. I'm your host, Candice Janae. I'm a digital marketing and automation strategist and business coach. I'm the CEO and founder of Epic Fab Girl, where we help Christian women entrepreneurs market and scale their service-based businesses beyond six figures as they grow deeper in their faith. So whether you're a coach, speaker, or a service provider, this podcast will drop gems, bringing you tips, strategies, and stories from experts to help you take your life, business, and relationship with God to the next level. Hello and welcome to the Go-Getter podcast. I'm your host, Candice Janae, and I am so excited about today's episode because this is a snippet from our Millions in the Marketplace challenge that we had last December, and it was so crazy. And so today's episode is a conversation that we had with one of the experts who's running a seven-figure business. And when I tell you, I was incredibly blessed by all of the speakers. So if you haven't already heard anything about Millions in the Marketplace, it literally is just a challenge that we did that was focused on helping women that were service-based entrepreneurs hear from stories of people that look like them that have been building and growing and scaling 7+ figure businesses. Okay, so you are going to hear today from one of those talks, and it is going to be amazing. When I tell you, these conversations absolutely blessed me, and I really pray and hope that it blesses you too. So whether you're just listening to this episode as a standalone episode, or you've heard another episode from the Millions in the Marketplace challenge, you already know that you are in for an incredible treat. Make sure you head over to the other episodes if you haven't already listened to them, because they are going to be incredible. But stay tuned for today's episode with our guest expert. Our next speaker is Brandy Woods. And let me tell y'all something about Brandy. Not only does she look good, but Brandy is a whirlwind of charisma, passion, and wisdom, known not just as a thought leader and change agent, but as the millionaire midwife of entrepreneurial dreams. Brandy doesn't just walk the talk, she sprints it. She's the leading visionary of childcare Millionaires. After being in the childcare industry for 8 years, she realized something was missing in the industry, which was support and community. She filled the gap by uniting childcare owners worldwide to build successful childcare centers and create 7-figure childcare owners. So welcome to the Millions in the Marketplace challenge, Brandy. We are so excited to have you here.
Yay, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of the community. And I'm really excited to pour in because I love to pour.
Listen, I'm excited too. So I would love to know a little bit more about you and your journey to where you are now. So tell us, for those who are new to you, tell us what you do, what your business is about, and just your journey to getting to where you are now.
Well, first of all, I want to see if any former or current teachers are on the line. I am an educator. I've been an educator since 99, and I love what I do. But being an educator, I really saw that there were some gaps in education. I had a really desire to open my own school. I'm a mother of 6, a grandmother of 3. And I just saw a lot of gaps, especially with our Black and brown kids. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to open my own school. I'm going to be a solution in our community a different way, because our kids are not bad. They're underserved. I couldn't stand the meetings and the way they were talking about kids. So I began to do that. But I've always been an entrepreneur. Like, I was the girl who was selling blow pops on the bus, and 25 cents, buy a bag for $1, bring home 5. So for me, entrepreneurship was always a part of who I was. I'm a 5th generation entrepreneur. And so I saw people in my family own their own businesses, and that was very powerful for me because I wasn't as fearful and kind of taking my own path. So that's the short story about how I ended up in the marketplace, but I'm sure we will unveil a lot of more juiciness.
Yes. Listen, so one thing I love about you is that you are a woman of faith. So I would love to know the role that faith has played in your journey, right? Like, I think the incredible thing about you is not only are you a seven-figure business owner, but you birthed other business owners that are seven-figure business owners. And so I would just love to know the role that faith has played in your journey of entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna say this. I know most of you, like me, probably went to Sunday school, and there was always some key stories in Sunday school that kind of like I hung on to forever. And shouts out to Sister Renee who got us right in Sunday school. Okay, but I remember there was one story in the Bible that really impressed upon me, and that was about the parable about the talents and how everybody has a measure of talent. What are you going to do with your talent? Are you going to waste your talent? Are you going to hide it in the ground? Or you when God comes back and say, "Hey, I've given you all of these resources. What did you do with them?" I always wanted him to be very proud of what I did with my gifts and my talents. And so I was always very conscious about, was I hiding my gift? Was I using my gift to the maximum ability? And then I think the other core scripture that I hung everything on, and it's a part of my book, was being broke ain't biblical. And that was kind of based on that Deuteronomy 29 and 11. I don't believe the kingdom of God should be in lack. I believe the kingdom of God should walk in prosperity to the point of overflow, where you're always giving from your saucer and not your cup. And I think us who was raised in the church and we were raised to tithe and to give, and I believe in all of that. It gets a bad name when people are giving out of their cup. So I always wanted to teach people how to give from their saucer, give from their overflow. And the only way you can do that is to be a profit producer. You got to produce profits in your business. You got to show something with your talent. You got to make sure that the seeds that you planted comes to harvest. So I'm always claiming harvest time around here because I planted a lot of seeds.
Come on, always claiming time because you're always planting a lot of seeds. And so, I think a lot of times when God calls us to plant a seed, right? It
Mm.
gets planted in the dark. It gets planted when ain't nobody watching. It gets planted when you wondering like, okay, I'm watering this seed, but baby, where the plant? Where the fruit? And so talk to us about what it looks like to either wait on God or wait on his promises or wait on the fulfillment of, what he said in business to come to pass in your life.
Absolutely. So the first thing I'll go ahead and say is planting ain't cute. It's dirt involved. You got to get the shovel. Sometimes you got to move a few rocks around. You got to make sure that you're on fertile ground. So watch where you plant your seeds because I don't have time to be planting my seeds in ground that ain't good. So make sure where you're planting your seeds, who you're eating from, is good ground. That they are anointed, that they have purpose, and their purpose is connected to your purpose in God. Because everything that's good ain't God. So I try to plant where God is, not where good is. Because a lot of people do good, but it ain't don't have nothing to do with God. Okay? Nothing. So that's the first thing. But I'm not always patient, but I trust God. And so I have history. And as a believer, I can look back in my past and see altars where God has not failed me. So I can remember going all the way back to high school and me saying, I need a full scholarship because my parents, they were great people, but they were not college educators, they were go-getters, but they really couldn't afford to send me to the schools I wanted to go to. I'm real talk. And my sister was already in school and she was partying, so she was messing up. She was that other sister on the prodigal son, okay? She was out there, and I was like, it ain't gonna be done for me. So I was like, Lord, I need a scholarship. I really need a scholarship. And I can remember getting a call one day, my senior year. I got a call from one of the teachers at the school. She wasn't even my teacher, but she was one of our mentors in African studies. And she was like, my college is giving a scholarship in my name, and I would love for you to have it. And so I was awarded over $100,000 scholarship to a private institution, HBCU, Jarvis Christian College, for a full ride, which included my books, my tuition, my room and board, and a stipend every single semester. Plus, they got me a job at NASA every single summer. I did not apply for this scholarship. I did not apply to go to this school, right? And so this was one of the ways where God showed me I'm more than enough. The summer before I went to school, actually 3 days before I left to go to school, I buried my father. If I wouldn't have had that scholarship, I would have definitely had dreams deferred. And then I look at other times where he just led me in the right direction or told me, don't worry about what people would consider risk. Everything I'm giving you vision for, I'm going to give you provision for. And so sometimes when I don't see the big picture, I just go back to being that 16-year-old girl, because I went to college when I was 16. I go back to being that 16-year-old girl that he provided that scholarship to that I didn't apply for. So I always go back to, it doesn't even have to be my effort. My God, my daddy sees me. And if I'm good to my children, how better will my Father in heaven be to me? And so all my job is to thank him, right? And to celebrate the things he's doing in my life, because I have faith and trust that even if I'm in a season of a base where he's giving me manna, it's going to be sufficient for me in that time. So every day has not been a day of plenty. There's been some days just been just enough, but he's still giving me just enough every single day.
So many nuggets of wisdom. When you said the thing about altars, right? Like that we can look back at all these moments in life where we saw that without a doubt that God was there for us, right? And I think the reality of you also ending with saying, there haven't always been seasons of plenty, but there was always seasons of enough, right? Where God never left you hanging, right? And I think that's so, so good, especially as believers. And for a lot of the women that are here or listening, they are wanting to get to that first big milestone that a lot of people have, which is getting to that six figures. And a lot of times, they're planting in the dark. They're doing the things they feel like, I'm posting, but ain't nobody looking at it. Or, I feel like I'm the best kept secret. Talk to us about the journey from going from, being in education to getting to that first six figures and the mindset of what that took.
Okay, so before I do that, I have to give permission to say this. So I did all the right things and went through college, but I married the wrong man the first time. And so I had to start a marriage that almost destroyed me. So after being a professional teacher and then being an assistant principal, I found myself homeless, sleeping in the car with my kids. And so I can't glaze over that or what I'm about to say next. You're going to think, oh, she had it really, really easy. And so I literally had to come to myself and I had to say, okay, you can go home. So let's at least get there. And I had about a 3 year period of my life. I call it the fog or the wilderness, where I can remember dressing my kids and I can remember getting up and going to work, but I don't remember a lot. I remember being in a season of manna where God was literally having to just take me day by day. And I remember like really rebuilding myself, and I got the promotion and I became director of curriculum. And then literally at 31, I became an assistant superintendent for about 21 days. And I walked into the office one day and they said, we have bad news. And I knew immediately God was about to move me from a place of extreme comfort because he had been telling me, you're not going to be here for long. And I was just like, God, just let me stay. I finally got it. I finally got my confidence back. I finally got my bag back. I just, and I tried to stay. And I remember him telling me. And so I kind of laughed and chuckled, but I lost my first six figures that way, right? So I was on a job making six figures. And when I left there, I can remember being in my car and he says, you're trying to hold on to six figures a year and I'm trying to give you six figures a month. As a matter of fact, if you really want it, I'll give you six figures a day. And you be like, God, don't be gassing me up like that. Don't be gassing me up like that. Cause what I'm looking at ain't looking like this. And I can just remember I had an old Toyota, Candace, and I had wrecked this Toyota at least 7 times. Okay. That day, I went to a Cadillac dealership and I traded in that Toyota for a Cadillac Escalade. Now, this is the gag. I was like, let me do it while I got this good check. Because in about 2 weeks, Carla, ain't gonna be no good checks. And so I say, if they gonna repost something, they gonna repost something more than this little Toyota. But I want to tell you that the blessings of God that has overtaken me since then have all been predicated in that I trusted his move and I had a good work ethic. So in him just ordering my steps and me following, like, okay, when he says something, I'm going to do it. There was always opportunity and provisions in those moves. So I know some of us have a good job, but that good job is just over broke. It's not going to bring you into extreme wealth. It's just not. So even if you got a side hustle that's going to help you get into extreme wealth, a job is not created to bring you into extreme wealth. I'm not telling anybody to leave their job, but that's not what it's created for. And me understanding that I have a position in the marketplace and in ministry is kind of what got me to the 6 figures.
If you've learned anything from this podcast, I know you're going to love the Go Getter Confidential Click at gogettermembership.com. It's a global membership community for Christian women entrepreneurs to connect, build wildly profitable service-based businesses, and grow their faith. So whether you're just getting started with an idea or you already have an established brand and you want to lay the foundation for 6-figure income, the Go Getter membership is just what you need. With expert masterclasses, monthly prayer, and tons of courses and downloads, your business will be better because of it. Entrepreneurship isn't easy, but this community will help you go from feeling stuck to clear and motivated. Join today at gogettermembership.com and save 50% off your first 3 months when you use code podcast at checkout. We'll see you inside. Listen, now that you brought up this term marketplace ministry, you done got us together talking about job is just over broke. And one of the things I think of, especially as Christians, when we start talking about money, a lot of people get uncomfortable. And now we're talking about, you went from where you were to now having 6 figures, but then now to be in this mindset of a 7-figure business owner, but you're still doing marketplace ministry. So talk to us about what marketplace ministry looks like for you and how you can confidently move in that space, making millions of dollars.
I know where my source is from, and y'all not going to get me in trouble trying to conform to whatever. So when I hold my conferences, I have Gospel Sunday. We're going to close out in the word. And this year ended up being an altar call. And all I kept thinking was, Lord, if anybody fall back, let somebody catch them, But I'm not going to stop the move of God in my business. I don't shove Christ down every client's throat when we're coaching or when we have conferences. But my business practices are predicated on biblical practice. I reap what I sow. So I'm always trying to do the right thing, right? The point of planting seeds, the more seeds I plant, the more harvest I'm going to get in my business. So I believe the more people I hire, those are seeds. My employees are seeds in my business's ground, the more that they can produce. I also believe in being a good rewarder, right? Of those who are helping me till my ground. And so I have people who work for me in businesses from the day that I opened them that are still with me today. And so for me, my companies, we have 3 separate 7-figure companies. And I know people tell y'all, you can't grow multiple companies. And I'm going to say you maybe can't all at one time. But God has really blessed us. Our childcare centers are multiple 7 figures. Our coaching company, Childcare Millionaires, where we support over 24,000 childcare centers a year, is 7 figures. And then we begin to invest in real estate. and we have a multiple seven-figure real estate portfolio. And I believe every step of the way, God told me when to unlock the next door. We didn't do it all at the same time, but it was really about focus. And I would say if you really want to make seven figures, you need an anchor business or an anchor product. And then once you get masterful, skilled at that, you can use those skills to do anything. But once you figure out how to sell what you do, you got to figure out a way not to sell yourself in time, right? You got to start getting paid for what you know. And that's one of the biggest things that African Americans are tradition. We're tradition to get paid for what we can do, the work of our hands. Thank God for all of our ancestors who built this country, who baked the cake, who rocked the baby. That's great. They had to work with their hands, but we can work with our mind. And your mind will get you paid way more than your hands because you only have a finite amount of energy. But my mind is working on the internet all day. You know, my mind gives me the ability to create masterful plans that my hands and my body can only work so many hours.
So, so good. I feel like, one of the things we talked a lot about during this challenge has been how it's the Lord who gives us the power to get wealth and how we already have the ability inside of us, right? And the ability and that intellectual property opens the door for other people to pay us for what we do know. One of the things I'm wondering is, on the journey to seven figures, what were some of the biggest mindset shifts you had to make to actually start, charging more for your intellectual property and what you knew and, being confident in, your abilities?
Those were not my obstacles. So I was confident in my abilities. My biggest obstacle is not, I didn't want to leave other people behind. So the circles that I was in did not nurture me into my goals. So I had to find new circles where I could see new possibilities. So if everybody in your circle is struggling, then you're going to struggle. For example, I can tell you right now how to go and apply for food stamps, right? I can tell somebody right now how to go get on housing. I can tell you right now where to go get some groceries if you're in need. But I couldn't tell you how to charter a plane. I couldn't tell you how to get a visa to go into another country and buy land. I couldn't tell, like, those are some things. I couldn't tell you how to make sure you had a butler service when you arrived in a new territory. I couldn't tell you how to hire an interpreter. We are conditioned to being broke. And our mindset in our communities will allow you to be hood rich and you can't leave a legacy to your family. So I had to get out of environments that made me think being small was okay. And I don't mean being small in stature. And I'm not saying if you make a lot of money, you're small. But I had to get in environments that would stretch me. I had to get in environments where people were paying six-figure salaries, not trying to make six figures. I had to get in other environments where just having one house or homestead was like, why haven't you put your money in other things? So I had to really change the people I was eating from and eating with so I can stretch my possibility. That was my biggest thing to overcome because some of the things I wanted to do, I had not seen in my neighborhood, in my circle. And that was hard because I didn't want to leave other people behind. And so I had to come to the fact like Harriet Tubman, look, I'm gonna come back and get you. But right now, I gotta go and get it for myself, and then I could come back. And that's the whole philosophy about being a midwife. Now helping others push through that.
So, so good. I wanted to ask you the question around the power of investing in yourself. And I think this also goes along with one of the questions we saw in the chat from Girl Code about where do you find those circles? And like, just talk to us about the power of environment and also investing in yourself to get in those environments.
Absolutely. The first circle I created, it was called the MAD Agency, Mission Accomplished Development Agency. And then I closed it down. I was like, we ain't mad. But that was what it was. And I just was like calling entrepreneurs and we would just talk. And then there was established circles. Mine was not established, but it was like a launch pad for us to kind of bounce ideas around. And then I started focusing in established circles, right? People who already had programs that had, they didn't have to think like me because I needed them to think better than me, but they were operating in integrity, right? And then I also began to invest in niche services. So when I really wanted to get into real estate, I really went to a flipping class. I went to how to become a developer, how to survey land, like, and so as we would start buying acreage, when I would go out and talk to the people, they would be like, "Do you have a development degree?" No, I began to study niche down services. So it's good to be in big groups that have like broad topics. And then when you're really trying to hone down into your industry, then go get some niche down help so you can become an expert because that's where the dollars turn. Because when I found out I can make more money building a house and selling it than buying a house and flipping it, I can build a house for 84,000. I can't buy one for 84,000. That's how we got into actually developing real estate, going into circles where sometimes the doors are locked for us.
Man, it's so refreshing to see you, to hear you say, even earlier, you're like, I got multiple businesses that are making seven figures in a single year's time. But to see you diversifying your income, but I think a lot of times, like you said, people try to do everything at once, but it's so great to see that you're like, nope, we created an anchor business, an anchor product or service, built that out once that was flourishing, and then shifted to something else, right? And so, what would you say is what's one thing you wish you knew before you ever had a seven figure business?
That I couldn't fail. I spent years figuring that out. No, I think the one thing I wish I would have knew, and I'm still learning more, is how to leverage other people's talents, money, and resources. That I don't have to create everything or go for broke. Black women get about 1% of all funding. And so we go for broke. We're always spending what we earn to build something, but that's not how our counterparts do it. And that's why they grow faster. And so if I would have knew how to leverage, I probably would have 10 daycare centers instead of 3. But I waited until I had enough money to get the next one. I would have been masterful at getting funding for my vision. But I am debt free. So I'm not mad at that part. Besides the laundromat we just purchased, I'm debt free. So I'm not mad at that, but I could have built a bigger enterprise if I would have leveraged.
So good. I feel like just even hearing the two sides of that, like, okay, yeah, you could have leveraged more, but listen, to be debt free, listen, the Bible talks about, oh no, no man, nothing. Okay. So I really do love that. And so our last question, and I love to ask this to everybody who comes on our platform. But what would you say to the woman who's afraid of going after her next big thing?
I love that you asked this question. You're going to have to manage your fear, girl, because this is the thing. Either way it goes, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to get successful. It's going to be hard to stay where you are. They're going to say, I'm too light, I'm too dark, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too loud, I'm too colorful, I'm too plain. Girl, manage your fear to become the person you want because you only have a finite amount of time on this earth. And hopefully we all get to glory. But while you're here, live your best life. And for me, my biggest fear is that I won't die empty. When I leave this earth, I want y'all to say, that girl did her thing. I want my grandkids to say, Big Mama set us up, but she lived her life, right? I want my name to be ringing for generations to come that not only did I sow seeds in the ground, I left a legacy. I left a legacy of prayer, but I dispel the fact that fear is more important than my faith. So every time I get a little nervous that I'm going a little far, I have to remind myself that my faith and my God who created the universe did not create me to fail. So manage your fear and go ahead and become the person that you want to be when you grow up.
Listen, this has been so good. Y'all, the fact that we just heard from a seven-figure business owner that owns multiple seven-figure business owners, and I'm cracking up because Allison in the chat, like, she said that so loosely, like the laundromat we just purchased, like it was just nothing. So I love it. Brandy, would you share with us how we can connect with you and stay connected with you after today?
Absolutely. I'm on Facebook, Instagram as Brandy Woods. Go ahead and find me. Send me a message. I love and want each one of you to win. I have like a little free 100-day plan. Y'all know about my 100-day sprints. I'll send it to Candace, the link. And if she wants to send it out to you guys, I would love for you guys to work with me the first 100 days of the year to be everything that you want to be. And hey, drop in my DMs. Let me know what's going on. If I say anything to help you today, I would love to know. Candace, thank you for allowing me to show up, and thank you for showing up to the people that God has called to you. You're changing lives, and we see you.
Thank you so much. And one real quick thing, because I think they said it in the chat. What's your Instagram handle?
It's Brandy Woods 1908. But if you put in Brandy Woods, you'll see me.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words, and thank you for sharing with our community.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Go Getter podcast. If you love this conversation, you're going to love the panels and workshops that are at Go Getter Conference. It's our premier event of the year, and it happens annually. It's going to help you market and monetize your God-given ideas and connect with women from across the globe. Head over to gogetterconference.com to check it out right now. And just for staying until the end of this episode, we have a special gift for you, the Go Getter Plan and Profit Workbook. This workbook is going to help you plan your income for the year. So head to gogetterpodcast.com/plan and profit to get your copy. And don't forget to drop a 5-star review if you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you on the next episode of the Go Getter Podcast.